All right, so came to the library, and right next, I was going to grab a Zane book. Right next, I thought it was a Zane book, but it's Zari, Z-R-I. So Zari, absolute power. And even though I didn't know, I still just opened it up, you know what I'm saying, and skimming through the pages within, what do I want to say, like, yeah, less than a minute. In less than a minute, found the pages. So, with Crush here, with Crush, we're gonna do a read. We're gonna do a quick read. I'm on page 132, and I'm gonna just read pages. So, Brock, no Pokemon, leaned close to ask, "What are we drinking?" "We're drinking Jack Daniels Single Barrel." Amani leaned toward him and put the glass to her lips. The Eric Church edition. "Smooth," he said after he took. "I didn't know you drink Jack." "I developed a taste for it lately," Imani said before taking a sip and then resting the glass on the coffee table. Brock shot back the rest of his drink and put his glass down on the table next to hers. "I guess it's the part where I kiss you," he said softly as as his hand glided across her cheek and gently pulled her close. Brock's kiss was slow and passionate, yet hard and hungry all at once, as if he were exploring the inside mouth. Their tongues danced, and his hands cradled her face as he kissed her with fervor. Imani could feel his hunger for her, and her desire to have him inside of her made her body ache. "Yeah, it's the adults. It's the adults. No kids. Goodbye." Their lips parted, and their bodies shuddered from how intense this moment between them was, and from what was tongue. Brock ran one hand through her hair and pulled her closer to him with the other. Imani wrapped her arms around his neck as she leaned in and gave him a ravenous kiss. Then he pulled down her zipper and eased the dress off her shoulders. Her head fell back and her eyes drifted closed as he kissed her neck, caressed her skin, making Imani wetter for him. He unhooked her bra and pulled the straps off her shoulders. Then Brock's hot lips and tongue blazed a torrid trail from her neck down to her chest, stopping only to linger at Imani's beautiful breasts. Magnificent. He managed to breathe out before he lowered his head and ran his tongue over her nipples. Then Brock pressed them together and devoured both nipples in his mouth. "That feels so good," she sighed, putting onto his head. Brock quickly pulled Imani on top of him and cupped her face. "You are so beautiful." Imani's, Imani's clit began to swell as she ground her body against his dick while he feasted on her erect nipples. She cried out over the sensation of his lips and his teeth teasing and sucking her nipples. "That feels so good." Imani reached out, caressed his face, and forced herself to push off Brock and stand up. She quickly kicked out of those red sole pumps and let her dress fall to the floor. "And I want more," she said in a whisper. Brock stood up. Imani unbuttoned his shirt and then helped him take it off as he fumbled with his belt buckle, trying to get out of his pants as quickly as possible. He stepped out of his shoes. Imani slowly dropped to her knees and pulled down his pants and underwear. "Magnificent," she said softly, holding his dick in her hand before she moaned. She was about to take him into her hot, wet mouth. "I don't care how big a fangirl you are. First sex rules still apply," Imani thought and stood up. She held out her hand. "Come with me." Brock took her hand and she led him into her bedroom. Once she got to her bed, Imani pushed Brock lightly. He fell on the bed and she got a condom from her nightstand. And then he watched as Imani put it on him, reached out and pulled her onto his lap. Imani was so wet and throbbing with the need to feel him buried. Deep inside her. She straddled his thighs and slid down on his thick dick. She sighed because she wanted this moment to happen since she was 15, and now she begged Sonic for this moment to never end. Imani cried on ecstasy as she bounced up and down hard on his dick, his kisses muffling the tones of her screams. Brock's thrusts were deep, hard, and intense, and Imani was rolling her hips so he could hit her spot with each powerful thrust. His hand her round cheeks as if he was encouraging her to ride harder. Her eyes widened, her breath caught in her throat, her mouth open, and her muscles tightened their firm grip on him. "I'm coming, I'm coming, I'm coming," Imani screamed, gyrating on dick. She felt the sensation radiating through her body, and Imani exploded. When Imani woke up the next morning, she sat up, yawned, and got in a good stretch. Although her body was a little sore in places, she felt amazing. Imani had needed that. She needed to feel Brock inside of her. The way he had worked her body, he hadn't missed any of her spots, as if she had directed him to each one and told him just how she wanted it. There had been no need for that, though. Brock giving it to Imani in ways that had her shaking and screaming until early in the morning. "Good morning, beautiful," Brock said, and it startled her a bit. "Morning." She lay down closer to him. "How long have you been up?" "Since 6, he said, and leaned over to kiss Imani. "You know how your internal clock wakes you up? Mine does the same thing. I've been getting up at 6 for the count of for years." "I understand." Imani rested her head against his chest, and Brock put his arm around her. "What time is it anyway?" He picked up his phone. 8:27. "I guess when I worked this morning." "I wouldn't say that," Brock said, gently lifting Imani's face and pulling it towards his. He kissed Imani deeply, slowly teasing her tongue with his. When their lips parted, Imani sat up and knelt on the bed with her ass in the air. "Come get it." Brock got up, adjusted her ass so it was in a perfect position, and penetrated her. His strokes were slow and simple. Her walls rippled around his length, made Imani moan with pleasure. Brock pumped in and out of her slowly and very deliberately, because he wanted to make it last forever. Imani Imani's sex was edible. It was so good that it had him hollering, "Get it," each time she brought down on him. When Brock picked up his pace and began slamming into her hard and fast, her walls clenched around him. The sensation blew his mind and began pumping in and out of her furiously until they shot as they came together. Afterward, they lay there, heart still pumping, the chests rising and falling, as the breathing slowed, staring into each other's eyes until the moment passed. Imani snuggled close to him. "You made me hungry," she said after a while. "Yeah, me too. Then we need to go," Imani said, "because there's no food here." Brock rolled onto his side and kissed her. "No food?" Imani shook her head slowly. "The only thing in my refrigerator is bottled water." "You don't cook?" "I can. I used to cook. I was a pretty good cook."